Hey guys, Heather Travar here, your law school lawyer. Today we're talking about student loans and their superpowers. They're really villainous superpowers, they're not superhero superpowers. So we're going to talk about why they are so dangerous and what you need to do when you find yourself in hot water with your lenders. That's coming right up. Okay, first things first, what is a student loan? Understand that even a private student loan still counts as far as the federal government is concerned. Why does this matter? It matters if you need to file bankruptcy, and we'll get to that shortly. I know, you're going to be a big famous rich lawyer. You are not filing bankruptcy. Pay attention anyway, because probably you won't be rich or famous as an attorney. Unless you do something really bad and then you'll lose all your money when you go to the penitentiary. But if you do everything right, you probably won't be rich or famous. So anyway, federal student loans are federally funded. Private student loans you get from a private lender like a bank. It still counts as a student loan, so don't forget that. Also, with a private student loan, you'll need to have good credit because they're not just going to give you the loan the same as the federal government would. You may not have had to take out a private student loan for undergrad, but if you go to a private law school as opposed to a state university law school, you will most likely need to do this unless you have a scholarship or you have family members contributing large sums of money. Because it is so expensive, because you need textbooks, because you need to eat and get transportation to get back and forth to class, you are going to need more than just federal student loans because there's a cap on how much you can take out. So be prepared for private student loans and understand they don't get special treatment. They're still a student loan. And student loans are very special and have superpowers, remember? So don't take it lightly. Be prepared that you may have to do this if you want to get that private law school education. Okay, so now you've graduated from law school and you're $100,000 in debt. This is not a far stretch of the imagination, especially if you're counting in undergraduate debt. Let's look at your time frame. So typically when you graduate from any school, you have approximately 6 months from your graduation date before repayments come due. You graduate from law school in May or June, you take the bar exam in July, you don't become licensed and therefore able to be work and paid as an attorney until around September. So now you're down to 2 months to get your finances in order before your repayments come due. And if you're looking at $1,000 plus a month, which for most people is a mortgage payment or a very nice car payment, you should have a great car for $1,000 a month, then it's not a lot of time. You've got to get things together and you've got to figure this out. This is even assuming you have a job, and you may not have. So the clock is ticking. You've got to be ready for that. And this goes back to the video on which law school to choose and why it is so important to market yourself for those 3 years in law school. Now, what do you do when you can't repay the full amount or any amount? You do not default. Do not default. It will stay on your credit for 7 years. I'm talking 7 years from the last incident of non-repayment. After that, by federal law, they have to take it off your credit report. 7 years is a long time. Let's say you graduate at 25 and now you're going to be 32 before you can even qualify for a mortgage because you've got these defaults. And let me tell you, student loans don't go away that easily, but we'll come back to that. So, if you are about to default, you need to call your lender and you need to find out what the options are. They will have parameters for deferment or forbearance. And sometimes the answer may be, we'll give you a reduced payment. Be prepared. If your monthly payment is $1,000 a month, if they reduce it by 50%, that sounds great until you realize that's still $500 a month. How much is your apartment rent? How much is your car payment? And if you've got a job at a nonprofit or you've got just a regular private sector job that only pays $50,000 a year, that's going to be tough to do. So, it is not going to be easy, but you need to call that lender and you need to make some kind of arrangement and do your best to stick to that arrangement. Remember, if you have a cosigner on any loans, if you default, not only are you in hot water, as far as your credit history and as far as them coming after you for the collection process, your co-signer is now on the hook. So don't take it lightly. You've got to take this very seriously. Understand what you're getting into. I wish I had better news for you and could tell you that you can easily remedy any situation with your student lenders when you don't have a job or you're not making that much money. The truth is you owe the money regardless of your personal circumstances. And this is going to be true for really any loan. But student loans are worse. Why? If you default on your mortgage payment and you have a big deficiency balance, if you default on your car payment, you can file for bankruptcy. You can't do that with student loans. Allegedly, there are circumstances under which you can. I don't know of any cases where that's happened. There might be some. I do know of egregious cases where definitely the debtor should have been able to file default on their student loans and the judge said no. And it gets worse than that. Sometimes you need to file bankruptcy. You are about to lose your house, but if you file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, you can work out a payment arrangement and keep your house and get caught up on what you're past due. Maybe you've defaulted on your car payment and you've got to have a car to get to work, and you file Chapter 13 bankruptcy and you can keep your car and work out a payment arrangement. If you owe student loans, you may not be able to file bankruptcy at all. If you cannot show that you have been granted deferment or forbearance, or that you can continue to make the monthly payments while the case is in bankruptcy for 5 years, it can destroy your bankruptcy case. This is why I say student loans have super villainous powers. Bankruptcy works with an automatic stay. So once you file bankruptcy, lenders are no longer allowed to collect from you. And once the case is concluded and you've done everything you're supposed to do repaying your debts, those lenders can't come after you and say, well, we didn't get everything we bargained for, you still owe us money. No, they can't do that, except for student lenders. You can continue to pay them during your bankruptcy case. They can actually destroy your bankruptcy case because the judge may say that if you can't make these payments during your bankruptcy case, or you cannot prove to me you have a default or forbearance, I'm not going to let you file bankruptcy. And when you finish your bankruptcy case, guess what? You still owe these. Understand, these are not secured debts. Your mortgage is a secured debt, secured by your house as collateral. This isn't a house. It's not secured by anything. They can't take away your education, right? They can't revoke your diploma. So it's an unsecured debt. It's also not a priority debt. We're not talking about taxes. We're not talking about fire dues. So it's not a priority debt. It's not a secured debt. But they not only can collect from you during bankruptcy outside of the court's purview, they can also continue to collect from you after bankruptcy. This is extremely serious because you can end up in a really bad position where you need the protection of the court in bankruptcy to get your life back in order. And your student loan debt may prevent you from doing that. I have no good news on that point, and I'm sorry, but if you know of anything, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear some case law that's more recent where we have some good news on that front. Okay guys, so the news gets even worse. The federal government on those federal student loans, they can garnish your Social Security. Oh, you don't think you'll be paying that long, do you? Right. Well, let me tell you something. If you want to have kids, get married, have a house, just enjoy life and take a vacation, you're probably going to need the lowest payments possible, which still may be really high, and you're probably going to need the 30-year repayment plan. Before you take this endeavor of going to law school, especially a private law school, I want you to treat it like a business. Number one, remember that those 3 years you're in school, you are not working. You are not working your way up the corporate ladder. You are not earning wages that you can put into the bank for savings or an IRA or any kind of rainy day fund. You are not building experience in the real work world so that you can progress to the next level. And if you graduate from law school and you can't find a job, just like I said in the video about which law school to choose talking about marketing, that's 3 years down the drain. If you are going to go to law school, especially a private law school, you need to figure out what is it going to take for you to get a return on your investment and how long is it going to take. Is it going to take 5 years, 10 years, more than that? It needs to be worth it. If you just want a job making a lot of money, become a programmer. If you're skilled in that area, do that. Build an app. Law school is not the only way to make money. In fact, it's one of the most difficult ways, because when you get out, you will find out you have to be an entrepreneur regardless of who you work for, assuming you find a job working for someone else. So go into this treating it like a business. How long will it take to get a return on your investment? What will that return be? Is it going to be worth taking yourself out of the job market for 3 years and being in that much debt and taking that big of a risk? I hope this has been helpful. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. I have weekly updates. Until next time, goodbye.